Hi, and welcome to 647, six stories for 7 a.m. because there's a famine of truth in our land. And this is your quick news fix. And the truth starts now. And the 647 Tapas Bar is open. And let's see what we've got. We've got American Airlines is making a big change to its carry-on baggage rules, and you're going to be the beneficiary of that. What could that be? They're not going to check your carry-on anymore. American Airlines is removing metal bag sizers at its boarding gates across the U.S. starting this coming Monday, with flyers no longer required to squeeze their suitcases inside the contraption to make sure it meets size requirements. If you're not aware, this is the flavor of Trump now, right? It's back to customer service. It's back to not making everything a hassle. So, American Airlines is removing those bag sizers. The news was first reported by View from the Wing, which obtained an internal memo sent to staffers saying the bag sizers were being eliminated to, I love this corporate phrase, enhance the boarding process. I guess. What kind of feedback were they getting? Everybody I know says flying is such a hassle. I hate it. You'd think if you were a corporation, not completely dependent on government subsidies for fuel. Anyway, get rid of all the customer irritations and time wasters. Is it that hard to figure out? All right. Speaking of hard to figure out, here's the second tapas item. Scientists have reported finding new organic matter from Saturn's moon, Enceladus, suggesting that the lunar body could be habitable. So, this is one of 274 moons that Saturn has. And we actually sent what's it called? The Cassini spacecraft passed there in 2008. And at the south pole of Saturn, of this moon, Enceladus, are these ice geysers. So they flew through the ice geysers and picked up samplings of particulate, and it had organic matter in it. So it says Enceladus, one of the 274 moons that orbit Saturn, has long been considered a prime candidate for a habitable celestial body due to its icy geysers located near the moon's south pole. They also think it's got frozen oceans underneath it, and there's evidence all over its topography of big rivers and all kinds of things. So the new breakthrough comes from the data originally collected by NASA's Cassini spacecraft in 2008. One important distinction about the report is that it merely suggests Enceladus could be habitable space. It does not claim life beyond Earth exists. But I think it's interesting for us because it could be the first lefty colony that we can create for people with advanced Trump derangement syndrome, right? I mean, Chicago is not habitable, but it's possible that it could be. Trump is trying to begin that. DC and Memphis weren't habitable, but now it seems that there is life going on in those areas. They've all suffered from the blue plague, and that's the kind of thing that sci-fi writers have been writing about. So I think Enceladus, this is a place where if we're going into the golden age of the United States, the left's not going to want any part of that. What they want is only a small percentage wealthy and in power and everybody else suffering. This is going to be the opposite of that. So I think a moon to a planet like Saturn would be aesthetically beautiful. And I think that this has some real possibilities for the left. All right. What do we have here? We have last item on the tapas menu is that NASA astronaut Jim Lovell, who famously led the historic Apollo 13 moon mission, died last Thursday at the age of 97. Lovell was a part of a total of 4 space missions: Gemini 7, Gemini 12, Apollo 8, and Apollo 13. Lovell was most known for his calm leadership during Apollo 13's tragic flight, which experienced a major oxygen tank explosion far away from Earth. They talked with his family. They said to all of us, he was dad, granddad, and the leader of our family. Most importantly, he was our hero. We will miss his unshakable optimism, his sense of humor, and the way he made each of us feel we could do the impossible. He was truly one of a kind. He was. Those were incredible adventures. All right, take one. Panic spreads at CBS News as Barry Weiss becomes editor-in-chief. CBS News journalists have expressed fear now that Barry Weiss, who resigned from the New York Times due to opposition from woke staffers, being made editor-in-chief. She was basically fighting in the editorial room because they were all anti-Israel, and she's Jewish and supports Israel. So now she had to leave the New York Times, and she's going to be put in charge of CBS News. Several sources close to CBS News confirmed to The Independent that journalists within the network feel it is not a good place right now. The imminent arrival of anti-woke and stridently pro-Israel heterodox pundit Barry Weiss as the editor-in-chief of CBS News has left the newsroom staff literally freaking out, with sources telling The Independent that the Tiffany Network is not a good place right now. Well, if it's not a good place and they're freaking out at CBS, I freaking love Barry Weiss, and I don't really even know anything about her. So if she was on the editorial board of the New York Times, I can't imagine we could even order lunch together. Let's go. Take two. Let's talk about some real girl power. That's actually interesting girl power because it's all lefties. But conservative Takaichi Sanai, set to become Japan's first female prime minister. And thank you, DJT. She's a conservative. Girl power in Japan. Takaichi Sanai narrowly won the race for leadership of Japan's right-wing Liberal Democratic Party on Saturday, positioning her to become the first female prime minister in Japan's history. Japan is gearing up for a special election to replace Prime Minister Ishiba Shigeru, who announced his resignation in September after a few humiliating defeats for his party at the polls. Ishiba was also facing mounting public anxiety about alleged schemes to open Japan to mass migration from Africa. Why on earth would they do that? Do you want the answer? Because you see it in England. Why did England do that? Why did they say Africans, Muslims, all of you come on in? Because George Soros paid off the politicians to let it happen. None of the people just living in that country wanted any of it. It was all done for payola. The same kind of nonsense that happens here, and it's the same kind of nonsense that Prime Minister Ishiba Shigura was getting paid off to do. So people found out, Japan reacted, and Takai, I can't say these names, Takaichi 64 was always considered one of the top contenders in the swift and sudden race to succeed Ishiba, having finished second in the previous election. In the home stretch, her toughest opponent was Koizumi Shinjiro, an ally of Ishiba's, who would have become the youngest prime minister in Japanese history at 44 if he had won. Right? Trump is flavoring all this stuff all over the world. They want these young people in charge, and Trump's got all these powerful women in his cabinet, and here we go. We're seeing girl power. Trump has something to do with Barry Weiss. He's working with the Ellisons on the conversion of CBS and NBC. I would not want to be Fox right now, to tell you the truth. He's going to surround them and then he's going to devastate them. So we've got Barry Weiss, girl power at CBS. We've got, I'm never going to get this name right, Takaichi Sanai, looking like she's going to be the new and first female prime minister of Japan. And I got a third girl power story, and I didn't plan any of this. Marichal calls for coalition of the right to defeat left and Macronist establishment. We are talking Francais, right? Macron, Macron has dumped another government. There's three in less than 1 year, right? So French political firebrand Marion Maréchal has called on the various factions of the right wing to unite to defeat the forces of the left and the neoliberal establishment in Paris. Maréchal, the leader of the Identity Liberties Group in the European Parliament and heir to the Le Pen French political dynasty, has a long history of dramatic fallouts with fellow populists, including her aunt, Marine Le Pen, leader of the National Rally. However, in the wake of the collapse of the third government in under a year on Monday and the likely prospect of fresh legislative elections, the sovereigntist MEP urged for unity on the right, pointing to the coalition model displayed by Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni, who has successfully governed Italy for 3 years with a partnership between the center and the populist right wing. So we don't have a center here. Those are actually rhinos who can't identify as the center because they're just opportunists. But maybe Marion Maréchal is going to get this political amalgamation put together and she will take over. That'll be great. Smart, powerful women. Let's get some. All right, take 4. You're not going to like this. I can't believe this. Just can't believe this kind of stuff is still going on and nobody pays attention. So, Chinese illegal immigrants are obtaining commercial driver's licenses and landing jobs in the U.S. trucking industry with support from Chinese government linked networks, a Daily Caller News Foundation investigation discovered. The Chinese American Trucker Organization USA Inc., that's CATOU, CATOU, is a New York based, of course, nonprofit that has allegedly helped over 1,000 Chinese students obtain CDLs, commercial driving licenses, and has a 100% pass rate. They got it. They got the Harvard model going, according to its business filings, social media posts, and website. Videos posted on social media by an individual who crossed the U.S. southern border illegally shows they were able to rapidly obtain California CDLs after taking courses taught by CATU instructors. The public safety concern presented by truckers with unknown criminal backgrounds and driving records who can't speak English is compounded by CATU's board chairwoman, Gang Hang. That's right, Gang Hang. Remember that name. Going to jail, who has held leadership roles within organizations operating as arms of the Chinese government and the Chinese Communist Party. And she's running these driver's license schools just for Chinese people and trucking companies to employ them. So do you think they're running stuff all around our country and positioning it? Duh. No way American citizens voted for the California Gateway for illegal migrants to operate heavy vehicles throughout America. That is of itself a public safety and homeland security concern. Gee, thanks for making that observation. Having a large CCP tied network further train, certify, and place their illegal migrants throughout vital surface shipping routes, urban, rural, and interstate, elevates national security risks. At a time of high tension, crisis, or conflict with the CCP, what confidence could we have this network could not and would not be used against us? It already is being used against us. Why that? Well, we know why nothing's happening. It's because this is all functioning out of blue states. Well, they're doing it in Northern Virginia. So half of Virginia is a blue state. They're doing it in California. They're doing it in New York State. We just saw that New York State was issuing official CDL licenses in the program yesterday with only a last name, if that. All right. This is just bad, and this stuff has to stop. And everybody who's in the food chain, you just can't pass these people through and pass them along. We need whistleblowers. All right, take 5. Trump Oval Office signing. So this is from watching him at 5 o'clock in the Oval Office, reversing the Biden Ambler Road executive order that Trump had put in place last time, and Biden pulled it. And so this road, which is way up in Alaska on the North Slope, where we have incredibly large energy and mineral deposits, but you've got to be able to get there. So Ambler Road is a road building project over 211 miles, leading to the richest mining deposits for copper, rare earth minerals, lead and zinc and gallium and gold. But trucks got to be able to get there to bring the materials to build the mining businesses. So Ambler Road will be a toll road for the businesses that are operating up there. It's not for the general public. And the Department of War under Pete Hegseth is investing in Trilogy Minerals. So the DOW is going to be a major investor in one of the mining companies there to ensure that we have the rare earth minerals to be able to build fighters and build technology. So this is a huge opportunity for Alaskans in terms of minerals and metals. Biden weakened the US by doing it. Of course he did, because all of this stuff, I think, came from the CCP to Obama and from Obama to the handlers of Biden. Biden, he didn't have a clue about any of this. So they're going to build 211 miles of gravel road with a very strong base under it, because huge trucks are going to be operating up there. Plus, they're going to build 2 bridges. The mining companies will pay to maintain the road. So they're going to plan all this over the winter, because you can't do any construction up there during the winter. And then in the spring, when the thaw starts, they're going to start the construction in spring of 2026. And Trump says we're going to get a single wide lane built in less than a year. And then that's phase 1. Then phase 2, they'll start expanding, and there's a phase 3. So they'll eventually get a good wide road where trucks can pass one another. All right, then they talked about some other things in that meeting, not related to this Alaska thing, and that was that for the 4th month in a row, they've had 0 people cross illegally into the US. And then Blaze was breaking a story about the Department of Defense may have denied Trump's request for National Guard on J6 in coordination between General Milley and Pelosi, right, to fully do the setup of Trump and use it against him. Okay? You can't make this up, and it's all coming out, and we all have to pay attention. So take 6. This is the arms study. We're looking at, I think, 2 guys in Queens, definitely. I think that's it. It's 2 guys in Queens die in a murder-suicide after dispute over the sale of a family home. So here's two cousins representing an aunt and an uncle, and someone died in the family and left this home. And these two guys are trying to decide the best way to handle the sale of the home and then what's going to be fair for the four parties concerned. And they get in an argument, and the one guy shoots his other cousin and then shoots himself in the head. That's basically it. I'm not sure that this is actually AWS. This is just people who cannot operate with a wonderful new benefit. This should have been this wonderful thing to happen to these guys. They were put in charge of it because they were the players of the family, and they both end up dead trying to negotiate what the deal will be. You just can't make it up. It's too crazy. So that's it. And I hope it was shorter because yesterday's was almost 40 minutes long. So I want you to like us. I want you to share us. I want you to make comments. And I want you to know that I had a meeting with the web engineer, and he tells me that our numbers are up more than last month and that we're gaining and gaining. So thank you for everything that you do to make that happen. And we'll just keep going. What he said to me is, it's so hard to get to 1,000. Most people don't make it. But if you make it to 1,000, it's easier to get to 10,000. And from 10,000 to a million is even easier. So what can you say? We're just going to keep plugging away. And thank you for being here. And God willing, we'll see you tomorrow. And speaking of God willing, I wanted to put his arms over you and over me and bless us all. It's Tazewell Tuesday. We've changed it to the Tapas Bar. And tomorrow's hump day. You're going to be done with the week. It's going to be great. God bless you and have a fantastic Tuesday.